Daniel couldn't breathe, his sister was gone, the sun was setting, and the forest ahead was growing darker by the second. From the moment he realized Emma was missing, panic took over. The last place he saw her was near the old oak tree, right by the edge of the forest. With the sun slipping behind the mountains, Daniel had only one thought racing through his mind: find her before it's too late. The cold wind stung his skin as he sprinted toward the woods. It was a dark afternoon when Daniel, a 14-year-old boy, realized his little sister, Emma, was missing. The last time he saw her was near the old oak tree, at the edge of the forest. The sun was dipping behind the mountains, casting long, eerie shadows as Daniel sprinted towards the woods, his heart pounding like a drum. The cold wind bit at his skin, but fear and love for his sister pushed him forward. At first, everything seemed still, but as he ventured deeper, the forest became denser, darker, almost as if it were swallowing him whole, pulling him into a world from which he didn't know if he'd escape. Emma. Emma, he called out, his voice shaky. His cries echoed between the trees, but there was no reply. Just the crunch of leaves underfoot and the whisper of the wind in the branches. For a moment, despair clutched at him. Tears stung his eyes. What if I don't find her? What if it's already too late? He thought over and over, trying to push the dread away. But he didn't stop. He couldn't. With every step, his fear turned into determination. He thought of Emma, her laughter, her smile when he would lift her up. I won't leave you, he whispered to himself. Not this time. The forest, now an endless maze, loomed around him. Tall, ancient trees rose like giants, and the sounds of the night began to wake, making every shadow seem like a lurking monster. The weight of fear pressed down on him, but not as heavily as the promise he'd made not to give up on his sister. Then suddenly, a sound. A sob. Faint, almost lost in the wind. Daniel stopped dead in his tracks, holding his breath. And there she was, huddled beneath a fallen tree, a small figure trembling in the shadows. It was Emma. Her face streaked with dirt, cheeks wet with tears. Daniel ran to her, and the moment his arms wrapped around her, all the fear, all the despair, melted away. Emma clung to him, shaking, but alive. I thought you'd never find me, she whispered through her tears. Daniel closed his eyes, his heart still racing, but warmth flooding through him. I will always find you, he promised. The way back wasn't easy. The forest still felt menacing, but something had changed. Daniel wasn't alone anymore, and that bond, that unbreakable connection with his sister, gave him the strength he needed. Every step was heavy, but with her by his side, he felt like they could face anything. Finally, after what felt like hours, the lights of the village began to shine through the trees, like tiny stars guiding them home. Exhausted, but together, they made it back. As they crossed the threshold of home, Daniel realized something. It wasn't just that he had found his sister in the woods. He had found something else, the strength within himself, that ability to fight even when everything seemed lost.